Ah, now we have audio. So I'm not sure what's happened. XSplit, which is the program we use to sort of show these game overlays and switch between the cam and such, is not happy at all. Um, so I'm trying to restart the stream and see if that fixes the game. And having some difficulty doing that, but I'll get it to work. In the meantime, somebody asked me about piracy. So why don't I talk about piracy? I think somebody wrote a oh, the game is running. Like, I read this article, I'm not sure where exactly, but sort of the, like, pirates or people who pirate things are trying to essentially minimize the cost to themselves. And what is cost, right? Well, cost is, there's like money, like how much money did it take me to buy this? But there's also like convenience, like maybe like the 7-Eleven has like Slurpees that are 50 cents cheaper than the Slurpees at the In-N-Out around the corner, but I'm not going to drive 10 miles to save 50 cents on a Slurpee, right? So I'll pay the 50 cents, right? Gas stations have totally figured this out, right? Where if, like, you know, a gas station is located on the corner of a very popular intersection, gas costs more there, right? And so convenience is definitely a huge price that people will optimize around. And what about, like, morality, right? Some people feel bad pirating games. I know I feel bad pirating games when I pirated them. But some people don't, right? And it's sort of a personal decision about, you know, some people say, well, if the game cost $100, I don't feel bad pirating it because they have no reason to charge that much. It's almost like they feel absolved. Like a rational decision is, well, the $100 is not worth like the value I'm getting, so I just won't buy it. But some people use that as a justification of why it's okay to pirate it. And whereas other people, like, it works the other way around. It's like, oh, it's only $5, I can totally afford that. Pirating it just makes me feel worse, right? So there's all these costs that go into people's decisions about what they do. But generally speaking, so it's a personal decision as to like whether or not someone feels comfortable stealing something. For a lot of people, and I think this is just generally true, like the morality of stealing stuff is just so high, like that cost is so high, that if all the other costs are low, then they'll just buy it, right? So if you have a well-priced game that's very easy to get, that is not encumbered with DRM, like piracy won't be a problem for you. Like they will, like, yes, people will pirate the game because, like I said, it's a personal decision, and for some people that morality factor is zero. But a vast majority of your potential audience who would buy the game at any price will just buy the game if you make it very easy for them, and you price it at a reasonable level where they feel like that's the value I get out of this game, right? And so doing things like really intrusive DRM or you know, other systems designed to reduce piracy generally tend to increase those costs, which tend to promote piracy, and so it's really working against yourself. Like those are my personal views on piracy. Someone asked, I was trying to fix the game, so that was a good time to get it out. How will that influence the way we release the game? Well, obviously quite a bit, because there's only a few of us here. And let's see. And hey, the game works again. Oh, move my mic. Sorry, was I blowing you guys out? Oh well, so the game works. Restart XSplit, game works again. Let's see, there it is. No, there it isn't. I tried to show the game and XSplit lost its mind. Let me add it back. Actually, editor. Let's look at the idle script. And if we could add the game, delete you guys. Add a game. Oh, I have to click in the window first. Okay, XSplit, thank you very much. Oh wow, it's just not happy. Let me try adding a screen region. Donk. Donk. Yay, there's the game. We're back. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Where were we? We were trying to get the Mammoth to work. So let's do that. Let's close the game out and go back to the Noise test. And let's see if this works. It does. And there's our mammoth. Is he idling? Probably not. Oh yes, he is. Right there he is. Can you see it? No? Let me blow it up. Screen region. There he is. You see him? It's subtle. It's not subtle on my machine, but I can see how it would be subtle on Twitch, right? So there, he's running his idle animation. So that's our first rudimentary AI. There he goes. Yeah, he's super cute. I love him. I just want to cuddle, hug him. But so this is like boring, right? If this is all our pets did, you guys would feel really cheated that you got them in the Kickstarter. So let's make him like do something cool. So let's not do the just generic intention. Like we're gonna do like the most ghetto AI possible. This probably isn't the way to write AIs, but it's useful to see how it works, right? So let's run the Mammoth. Actually, it's getting a little late, and it's not getting late, but I don't want to spend all day like you guys watching me correct syntax errors. So let's actually just slam in the good implementation, right? And I'll do that really fast. Like we'll jump to the end game. Let's see. Do I have the Mammoth AI? Mammoth AI. Rabbit AI. Oh, here's the Mammoth AI, right? And so we're gonna make his intention to be the Mammoth AI. Which, so let's actually, I want to show this with syntax highlighting, or better syntax highlighting. So I'll walk you through what I wrote, right? So here we go, and let's run it. Well, let's comment out a bunch of code, right? No, we'll just run it. We'll do it this way. It's fun. So that you can see him do his thing. Right, so is he running? Oh, that's not gonna work. Let's get rid of this one. Add a new screen region. Screen region. Right, so here's the Mammoth AI, or AI, you know, sometime later, right, where he's doing a bunch of stuff, right? So the first thing we did was we made a new Mammoth activity, right? This is an intention, which we referred to. We actually put the intention and the action in the same class, which I'm not going to let people do in the future, but it works now because of all this boilerplate, which will be gone. But so we're recommending at the highest priority that the Mammoth should be a Mammoth, which is just right. This is really a bad idea, which I'll go into when we're done looking at it, but it was the fastest way to get code that fits on one page, right? So, so what does a Mammoth do? Well, ignore all this code at the top, right? It's like the idle script, right? It says forever, pick a random action and run it, and then walk around, right? Well, this actions array is just sort of the sneeze and the idle function, where the idle function looks, hey, it looks a lot like that idle script we saw before, right? Where it says turn to a random location, right? This is the OM again, right? The object model, which is very low level and you won't have access to. You won't have to use it, but it it still reads pretty well. Turn this entity to a random degree, right? That makes him. Oh, where'd he go? Come back! There he is. He turns to a random location, and then load the idle breathe effect, and then wait between 1 and 5 seconds, right? So he's going to idle between 1 and 5 seconds, so he doesn't look like such a spaz. So there he's idling there. Here he's idling right now, right? Oh, what was that? That was a sneeze, right? That's the second thing we do, right? Because we can either idle or sneeze. And sneeze is really simple, right? He idles once, right? This is composition, right? He idles, so he'll wait, like he'll turn to a random location, wait from 1 to 5 seconds, and then he'll run the perform script to sneeze, right? That idle sneeze is an animation, actually an effect that has an animation of him sneezing. And it'd be nice if there was like a cloud of smoke and a little mammoth sneeze sound, and it'd be so cute. But we don't have that yet. And then he idles again, right? Because we don't want him to just like run somewhere and then sneeze. That's silly, right? He needs to run and pause and then sneeze and then recover himself, and then he can do something else, right? So those are the two actions he can do, either idle or idle, sneeze, idle. And essentially, we want some variety in there, so where are you? Oh, we crashed. It happens sometimes. We want some variety, so we say, do one of those two things and then sort of explore the world, right? Run around and see what you can find. So you can imagine, so that's the Mammoth Pet. You can imagine this being the Mammoth Pet's idle behavior, right? Where if he's got nothing to do, this is what he does. And then, you can go on from there, right? One of the things we want him to do was look around for people, and then if he sees someone, he'll run up to them and want to jump up and down and start playing on them, right? So play with me, and then there's a messaging system where entities can message each other, right? So what we could do is put a mod on a person, which is play with Mammoth, sort of the play with Mammoth intention that was only active shortly after it got a play with me message, and then an intention on the Mammoth that said, find someone to play with. And then they could exchange messages, and the Mammoth got to them. You could synchronize some animations where a guy picks up a ball and he throws it, and the Mammoth goes and he picks it up, right? And all that would just sort of happen naturally. The guy who got the modification that was play with Mammoth might have 100 or 1,000 other intentions of stuff he wants to do, but just every so often the stars would align, and he's not hungry, and he doesn't need to fish, and there's no houses that need to be worked on, and there's no goblins around threatening him, and play with Mammoth was the highest priority thing, and he would just go play with the Mammoth for a while, right? That's sort of idea that everyone has their own little agenda and their own little intentions driving their behavior, right? So you get this nice sandbox feel when you play the game. You feel that it's a living, breathing world. But is that still extensible by people who well, wouldn't it be great if the mammoths would stack up and make a mammoth pyramid? You could totally do that with a mod if you wanted to, right? And then other people could download the Mammoth Pyramid mod, and everyone can have a big awe moment together, right? So that's the idea. That went faster than I intended, and there were some hiccups along the way, XSplit dying and me having syntax errors I couldn't find. But that's really all I wanted to show today. Sort of the basics of AI, how our AI system is built, and sort of in real time, apply them to the Mammoth Pet, right? And is he moonwalking? That was cool. So that's what I got. But so now is a good time because that was super fast, and there was probably a lot I glossed over that is totally clear to me and not at all clear to you because this is the first time you're seeing this stuff. If there are any questions about anything really, this would be a good time to ask them. Too bad there's no demo yet. I know. I wish there were a demo, but we actually want to demo something demoable, where you feel like you're playing a game and not watching these developer streams. This is great. I could watch the Mammoth for 2 or 3 minutes and not get bored. But then, what? Hey, I can mod the Mammoth. Yeah, but there's not really very much error checking or feedback as to what you got wrong, and no documentation. So that's probably going to be an exercise in frustration, right? So we want you to get something useful out of a demo or a beta when we ship it, and we're working very hard to get there as soon as we can. So hopefully it'll be out soon. If not soon, then before December. Or at December, which will mean December 32nd. Or December 60th or something like that. If we're on programmer time. But yeah, hopefully soon. Yeah, Lord Lork, December is the published... in the Kickstarter, you see, if you back us at $15 or more, you get 15, maybe 30. You get access to the beta when it's released, and the beta, the date on that Kickstarter is December 13th, or December 2013. And so we will have something for people who back us in the Kickstarter by then, for sure. It might be sooner, definitely won't be later. Thank you, Sprack has compiled questions. Will the game be native to 64-bit Windows so there's more than 64 gigabytes to work with? If necessary, but I am not thinking about that so far. I mean, 64-bit native, like, why would we need to be 64-bit native? Like, if the build was like, if the world was like completely massive, like the size of the Earth, right? Then I can imagine, yeah, that's a lot of data. Let's keep it all. But how would you render that data? And like 64 bits of address space, how much actual physical memory do you have? And like if for some reason the 64-bit build was faster, then that might be something I might be interested in doing later. But right now, our priority is to release like the game in a really playable form and adding content and supporting the modders. So I can't say it's high on our priority list, but if there's a good reason to do it, I'm certainly open to it. Like I've ported 32-bit code to 64-bit code before, and we're thinking about it like when we declare 4-byte quantities, are they ints or pointers or uint pointer t, or like we're using all the right types so this is possible. It's just not high on the list of priorities right now. Question number 2, will stockpiles be a zone, or they have a texture like a wooden floor, so you have to construct a stockpile? A lot of this stuff, like specific in-game questions, we're just going to decide. We're not going to just decide, right? We're going to just really get an idea from gameplay, right? Right now, let me put the harvest test back. Oh, this is the harvest test. Where is it? Harvest test. Let's put the guy back. Right. So, we can have a mammoth and a guy. Like, how cool is that going to be? Right. A stockpile is just an area on the ground that you've designated. So, like, you can see, like, this stockpile here. The only thing magic about the stockpile is that it's tracked by the AI, and the AI tries to put things in it, right? So I can make this stockpile and that stockpile. So there's nothing to build, right? Like, do we get anything from, like, having you build it? It seems like more of an annoyance. It's like one more hurdle before you can actually build interesting things like houses and stuff, right? So, but if there's a good gameplay reason, like maybe like on the Plains of Fire, if we get that far in the Kickstarter, like, wood burns when it's on the ground. So we have this special thing, which is also a stockpile, which is like a metal stockpile, so that you can put your wood down and it won't burn up. I don't know. That's a good gameplay reason. But just these sort of basic stockpiles, no. They're just designations on the ground that people try to put stuff in. Question 3. Will you start up blogs, articles on things like your goals? Stephanie talking about lore. Yeah, we totally want to do that. You saw we've been doing a little bit of that on our blog already, like Stonehearth.net. If you see, there's Desktop Tuesday, where Tom will show a screenshot of what he's working on and describe what it is. And we try to hit Reddit Game Dev with Screenshots Saturday. And hey, we have a Stonehearth Reddit now. We're going to go by there, and we're going to drop by the Discourse. Like, we want to be super engaged and about what we're building and get feedback about stuff we're doing. And Stephanie will do that too, of course. Like, she's actually super engaged in the Kickstarter now and looking at the Discourse and pointing out really great stuff we're doing, as well as trying to get accustomed to our build environment and writing code and stuff. So it's definitely something we're going to put a big emphasis on going forward. This isn't just for the Kickstarter, right? We want to keep this momentum going. In case we don't hit 500,000 in the next 12 days, do you still intend to add those goals at a later tier? We don't see Stonehearth as like a first-person shooter. A lot of times, you build it for 5 years, you release it, and then it's out there in the world, and people play it and enjoy it for as long as they want. Right? We see Stonehearth as the first release is just a stepping off point where people can start playing, and then of course the game will grow through modders and through mods that we release and new functionality we release. Like we're not using an MMO revenue model, and it's not hosted, and it's not even an MMO, but you can think of it that way, where as long as the game is popular and people enjoy it, and we can afford to staff it, we want people working on Stonehearth adding new stuff. Like, even if we don't get to 500,000, like the Elemental Plains is something we're totally excited about, and we would like to add it at some point, right? That we have like more ideas than we could possibly implement in the next 2 to 3 years, and we want to implement all of them, right? It's just a matter of when and how we get them out to you. We don't want to wait like 5 years to get them all in the first release, right? We want to get something out sooner. But that doesn't mean the first release is the done product, right? It just keeps growing. Question 5, $75 tier. Still thinking about it. We want to do it, but we've been totally spiked. Like I spent all yesterday, fixing bugs and getting this cleaned up and flighting my, preparing for the Mammoth stream, and we had meetings and stuff to do. So we want it. We'll definitely have it before the Kickstarter ends. If we don't, then we won't. But it's sort of like we don't want to promise something that will cost us more than $75 to deliver, and we don't want to put a tier in that nobody wants. So what's that happy medium of something where it's like, wow, I totally find that valuable, and we can, and it doesn't like end up blowing it out. Like we could like totally do package CD with in-game trinket. Wow, that's awesome, and that'll cost us like $40 a person to deliver. So like that didn't help us reach our goal. It just actually made it harder for us to make the game because there's just one more thing to worry about. So we don't want to do something like that, right? But we'll find something. Questions about scripting or anything? Nothing. Yeah, check out our Discourse, definitely. Like if you haven't seen it, let me see if I can throw it up. Right, it's Discourse. Oh God, discourse.stonehearth.net. Can I get it in here? There we go. Okay, get rid of the game. Right. It's like a forum, except it's really useful for us because it has a few number of categories, and you can look like hot. Here's the hot topics across all forums people are talking about, and here are the new posts that I haven't seen on all the forums, right? So it's really useful for us in that, and for you guys, that like good content or content that people are talking about bubbles up to the top, right? Without having to like go to every forum, click, and look at it. So I'm a big fan of Discourse, so we're going to try to use Discourse to get ideas for the game and provide feedback out to you. So if you haven't seen the Discourse, check it out. Like, there's the URL. Discourse.stonehearth.net. You can also just go to stonehearth.net and click the forums, right? We've got a Reddit too. Drop by our Reddit, like Stonehearth forums. Takes you to Discourse. Yep. Can we change the size of the mammoth? Can we script it to grow and be a giant mammoth after some time? That's a good idea. I don't know. Can we? Let's see. Not you. You? Yeah, you. Where is the mammoth? Does anyone remember? Data folder's empty. Bad. Is it you? Are you the mammoth? What happens? I wonder. Is that gonna work? Yes! Yes! Wow. So, there's the mammoth. Oh, sorry. Like I'm teasing you guys, right? There's the mammoth. He's big. So, like you said, all I did was I changed the scale in the data, and now we've got a big mammoth, right? And Tom went about this. Tom talked about this briefly when he was talking about the correct resolution and how you make voxel art look good, right? Because this mammoth is now 20 times the size of the baby mammoth. He's still a baby, he's still cute, right? I can't wait for him to sneeze, but he's now and we did it by scaling the resolution, right? Because if we actually modeled him with 20 times as many voxels, he would look like a crappy low resolution mammoth model, and not like this big voxely model, right? So when we model things, we try to model them at the resolution that captures that 8-bit feel, just enough resolution to have personality and no more. And then we scale it up, right? So there's this scale component, right here. The render rig, how big is this guy in game units? Where the default scale is 0.1, 1/10 of a block. And 1 unit is sort of the size of this log, right? The size of an in-game brick, right? So this guy is 3.5 units tall, right? So if you leave scale out, the default, you get the default, which is 1/10, which is what you want for almost everything you're modeling with Cubicle, right? Like your swords and your buckets of water and your, hats and all the stuff that you're modeling. You probably want it at the same resolution as a human, right? This guy, young Sean Connery. But for everything else, if you're making a Titan, Cthulhu, for example. He is rendered, or if you put Cthulhu in game next to who's this bro? If you put him next to Myrrh, he'd actually be shorter than Myrrh, right? But we scale him up, so he's at this epic scale, but that the voxels are the right resolution to convey that 8-bit feel. Yeah, good question. Anything else, questions-wise? I mean, I'm free until... Well, I won't tell you how long I'm free till, but I'll keep answering questions as long as they're good ones, especially if they're related to modding and scripting. Can we use giant mammoth babies as mounts in combat? That sounds like a great idea for a mod. Like I said, like all of these are like great ideas. I can imagine there's like, you know, hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, who are excited by the idea of using a giant mammoth baby as a mount, and a bunch of people who are like, that sounds like a great idea for you, but I would never do it, right? So that's what makes mod great, right? That's what makes mods great. You download the mods you want, and you use them, and you play, and you find other people like the mods, and you make your own little sub-Stonehearth community, and I mean, that's really what we want to get across with modding, right? Is if you think it's a great idea, put it in the game, and then find other people who want it, and then knock yourselves out. Have fun. How much variance do we intend to have for the different classes, hair color, etc.? Well, I mean, I think you saw with the workers, right? They all, even in the Kickstarter video, right? They're all workers, but they had different hair colors and different, well, they all have the same hands and feet, right? But they all had their own sort of little personality, different name, different hair color. So we want you to feel like your little civilian guys aren't just like people in SimCity, like where they're statistics, right? Oh, I have 10 workers, I should get an 11th one because I'll be 10% more efficient, right? We want them to have some amount of identity and personality and, you know, unique characteristics. Well, they all like have like, you know, 18 strength and 14 charisma. Like, I don't know if we're gonna go that deep, but they'll at least have like unique appearances. So when you have like, you know, this is my favorite guy, right? It's my favorite head Tom's done. I call him Young Sean Connery. Like when I have him, like when it's like, oh, like I need to promote to like my first magma smith, like, and this is my favorite guy. Like, I make a decision to do that, right? Because I identify with him for some reason. Like you can take this arbitrarily deep, right? Like, you know, people have their own stats. So this guy's good at fishing, but not at hauling. And how deep are we gonna go? I don't know. It's undetermined. Like, if there's a good gameplay reason that really enhances the game to do it, we'll do it. But it might get like too micromanagey, right? You're like, I really want a carpenter now, but none of my workers have a high enough carpentry stat that I don't want to promote them, and that's sort of like preventing you from playing the game. Or some people would say like, oh, well, then you shouldn't make a carpenter, you should make a miner, right? And that is the game. But, you know, again, like little micro decisions like this, we're just going to try something. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else and come up with something that's fun. It's still early days for that. Wow. Hey, Spiak, can you help me? I hope I didn't mispronounce your nick, but can you help me get some good questions, because like there's so many. Or maybe you guys can post on the Discourse. No, don't do that. I'll just grab one. Will the pets have combat abilities? Like the Kickstarter pets? Probably not. Or if whatever abilities they have, we want them to be non-unique, right? The pets themselves are unique. So you can't get a mammoth except by doing the Kickstarter. At least you can't start the game with a mammoth except by doing the Kickstarter. But we don't want it to be like, because you did the Kickstarter, you have a gameplay advantage that no one else can take advantage of. Right? That's just not cool to everyone else who found out about Stonehearth later. So if they have combat abilities, then they will be non-unique. But yeah, we'll see. Can you mod in combat abilities? In fact, you can. In fact, I will show that to you. Right, you saw... So everything in our Kickstarter demo was live. It was... I don't know why this is not opening. Open folder. It was the real game running real game code on real everything, right? It was all live and real. And so you saw combat in the Kickstarter, because there's combat in the game. We've like totally done combat. And if I can find some of them. Scripts? Is it in scripts? Radiant? No, it's probably in data. Data? Stonehearth? Combat abilities? Yeah, so here's a combat ability. Right, it's JSON just like everything else, right? And like the way we've modeled it now, which is completely the way it works now and not how it's going to work in the game, because we always change stuff to make it better, right? You have this these tags, right? And these are tags which must appear on the weapon in order for you to use this ability. So your one-handed forehand swing is only a good with one-handed weapons, and it has to be an attack, right? So you can't use this to defend stuff. It has a cooldown, which means you can't use it more than once every 8 seconds, and it has a priority, right? So if there's like 10 things I can do, this has priority 10, and the one with the highest priority is the one he actually does, right? It has an effect, which is run the one-handed forehand swing effect, and then there's a script that actually implements the behavior, right? So if I'm lucky, I'm like creating the mod framework. So if I'm lucky, I've actually extended this, right? Yeah. So effects combat, right? Combat. Remember, we go to the rig and person effects. One hand, forehand swing, right? This is an effect for combat. It's much more advanced effect, right? Because you see the animation track that we had before, right? And it has this other thing called frame data, right? Fighting game players in the house, do you know what frame data is? Everyone else, like so this animation, it turns out, is 18 or 19 frames long, right? He's got the, let's go to the camera, right? No, Tony, right? He's got sort of the part where he's like, let's see if I can get in frame, right? Yeah, he's like, oh, this isn't working. Well, visualize it, right? He's sort of like rearing back, and then he starts to swing, and nothing has actually happened yet, but the sword is moving in the air, right? And he hasn't done damage yet. That's like 17 frames, right? Where a frame is a 30th of a second, right? And then there's another phase, right? This execute phase, where the sword actually makes contact, like with something, your shield or your opponent if he didn't block it, right? And then there's this recovery phase, or how long does it take him to return? And this one is really fast, right? So the script that we referred to in the previous file actually uses this frame data to figure out, you know, how long does it take to attack. And on this execute phase, then I should see if it's a hit or a miss and resolve damage, right? There's another, I guess if you look at the, right, there are more effects, like, you know, and they all have different frame data, right? And different, like here it's 15 to start up. This one we don't use, it's done. Right, but so, yeah, so how do I mod combat into the game? Right, that was a roundabout question, right? How do I mod combat into the game? Well, you just write a new JSON file, you make the animation, you put it in here, you give it priority, and you add tags, and then everyone has access to that attack, right? Now, maybe we don't want it to be everyone, so maybe we need to expand. We have this concept of a profession, like a worker is a profession, and a carpenter is a profession. Like maybe we'll make it so that the combat abilities that a profession can do are listed explicitly. So then you would also have to modify that list and stick it in there, right? But yes, everything, like generally speaking, everything in the game is moddable. And there are exceptions, of course, like, oh, can I write a direct 3D renderer? Well, no, because we don't let you download code, right? Or compiled code, right? But can I modify the shaders? Yeah, totally. Like we're going to ship with the shaders and plain text, probably. If not, there will be the worry to write your own shaders and point to your shaders instead of our shaders in a way that lets you package those up and share them with people. And like, oh, here's Stonehearth, but it's using a toon shader. Or here's Stonehearth, but everything is in shades of gray, right? Totally be able to do all of that. Oh, hey, I'm going to get questions from Tom. So let me scroll back. Oh no, Tom's just answering them. Alright, Tom's got this on lockdown. 50 Shades of Grey, haha. Did I just say that? Oh yeah, it looks like Curse is going to do our wiki. So Tom posted the link there. That's the official wiki. If you got stuff that you want to write on there, go write it, right? Thank you, Curse, for offering to do that and hosting that for us. We tried to set up a wiki once before, and it didn't work well at all for us. So the fact that you guys are hosting it is super awesome. We're excited about it. Question 12. How much variance are there between classes and features the classes will follow over? Easy, my blonde guy with a beard, all this class change. Yeah, we haven't decided. I mean, like, I just talked about how I like young Sean Connery, and he's my favorite guy. It'd be a shame if I turned him into a magma smith and got an orange beard, right? Well, maybe some of you think that's awesome. maybe not, right? So I personally would like people to retain their identity, but sometimes that just isn't feasible. Like, what if like he turns into a mage with a hooded face, his face is all black and he's got two glowing eyes? Well, I mean, part of being a mage is replacing the face, right? So, but you know, we'll do something. We'll figure it out. Any development plans for co-op? Will you control one civ or work together in an area? Yes, you want 4-player co-op. We're architecting for co-op, and the game is actually a listen server, right? If you look at, well, you can't see it, right? But here, I'll show you briefly. Like when I run the game, like I keep running this command over and over, where we're running a build of the client app from the release directory, right? Why client app? Why not Stonehearth.exe? Well, because that's the client. There's another server that's actually running in-game, and it just turns out the current build of the game uses a loopback socket to talk to the server. So is this multiplayer? You could say it's multiplayer with one player connected, or at least the basis for it, right? So what do we need to do? We need to add the ability to handle multiple connections. We need to be able to download a copy of the game to the person who joins later, right? Because like, if you were to join my game right now, like I have to tell you, oh, there's 8 pieces of wood on the ground and there's a big mammoth in the middle of the screen. And that's one of the reasons the async multiplayer PvP is first, because we need to be able to save the game and download it to someone before you can even think about co-op multiplayer, right? So, but as far as the details, like, is it 2 people who have control of all the controls of units, shared control, or is it 2 civilizations, or is it 1 civilization where one guy has admin power and then like you can only build here? Like those details are not at all nailed down, and for the most part, a lot of them will have to be determined by playtesting, right? What's the lowest level modders can change the AI system? Well, I'll show you the rabbit, right? Rigs, person, nope, I can't click on that. I did this before. I tried to click on the stream window instead of the real window. Right, here's the rabbit. No, that's the rabbit rig. Let's look at the rabbit definition. Compiled, no. Data, mobs, critters, rabbit, right? So he only has one intention. He has no observers and one intention, which is rabbit AI. And rabbit AI handles his entire AI. So that is, I would say, the lowest level of AI, where you implement everything, right? If you only have one intention and it routes all the calls to your script has to do everything. That's pretty low. I don't know if I understood the question correctly, but if you want to add a creature in the world, like you can imagine, like suppose you were adding Q from Star Trek: The Next Generation to the world. I just dated myself, and that probably meant nothing to any of you, right? Suppose you were adding a special NPC with godlike powers who didn't behave like other NPCs to the world, right? You could write that NPC and just say, forget, none of the AI that you guys are providing makes sense. I'm going to write all the AI, and you could totally do that. I mean, it would be a lot of work, but you could do it. Can we define plans for the AI to stick, or will there always take the shortest route? Pathfinding right now uses A-star. We're going to change that to a hierarchical pathfinder so that you can path all the way around the world. And pathfinding is one of those things that's going to be very difficult to mod because it's very expensive, right? But we do want our pathfinder to take into account the type of terrain, right? So you can imagine where there'll be a cost, right? So maybe the cost of traversing a road is half the cost of traversing grass, which is half the cost of traversing rocky terrain, right? So the pathfinder will always try to find the optimal path, where optimal is defined by the cost it takes to walk over grounds, right? You can mod the terrain, right? So you can make a new terrain type, which is conveyor belt, right? Which costs half the speed of a walking path, right? So you can sort of influence the pathfinder that way if people make conveyor belts in their world. But as far as like writing your own pathfinder, you could. I mean, let's be frank. You could. Like we have this this action. I could show it to you. Maybe I could show it to you. Follow path. Yeah, here's the follow path action. Ignore the comment. Right. But essentially, we get this movement infrastructure contains a bunch of data, right? But there's this native object which will not be exposed in the API, probably wrapped in a friendly version, right? Where we say create a follow path object, and then we pass it a path, right? That's the lowest level. At that point, we're in C land, right? So you could just make a new action which is my path follower and write it entirely in Lua, where you are querying blocks in the world to figure out where to go, and it would be amazingly slow, and people who downloaded your mod would yell at you for making their game lock up. But you could do it. I mean, there's some things are implemented in C++ because they need to be, because otherwise the game would be too slow and wouldn't scale down. And pathfinding is one of those. Right? Collision detection is another one. You can describe the shape of your dude, but you can't write your own collision detection. Like, you can't mod the collision detection system in the game because it's written in native code. But you can make a guy that has, like, only his hands are colliders and his whole body is transparent. Like, if you had a reason to do that, right? Or a guy that doesn't collide with the world at all, right? Pop, please move mic. Sorry. I've been meaning to buy a better mic. It's just so much to do. Maybe you should get one of those boom mics like some of the streamers have, right? And just hang it in the office. You can leave it on all the time. Okay. I don't see any more questions and scroll back. So, PayPal, are you able to pick which modules load a new server? Oh, yeah, module picking. We want, like, a lot of our thinking behind add-ons is influenced by World of Warcraft, and World of Warcraft has this thing where you put add-ons in an add-on directory, and then you can opt out at runtime. So you can only load add-ons that you've downloaded and put in the directory, and then, like, right before you enter the game, it's like, do you want to load these add-ons? Like, and there's a checkbox next to each one, and it's like, do you want to load these add-ons? Because they're out of date, so they might not work, and they're red, and you have to say, yes, I really want to load that add-on, right? So we want to provide at least that much functionality. So when you start a new game, you can be like, oh, I have the 20x Mammoth mod, I totally want to run with that one. Or you're just like, no, I'm not into the Mammoth today, just turn that mod off. And then, will you be able to turn mods on and off inside a game? Maybe. We have to see how that works. Like, a responsible mod author can totally write his mods in such a way that if they come into the middle of the game or they get pulled out in the middle of a game, everything will still work. But that's sort of a level of responsibility that not all mod authors will necessarily be able to implement, right? Sort of versioning of your data and all that stuff. So we'll see. I think it'd be great if we could. Will you have in GUI official portal for supporting community guides and characters and whatnot? I don't know. Like, let's think about it. So you have stuff like Steam, where Steam is a great portal to like every game, not every game, lots and lots of games that you can get, right? And that's a huge plus, right? Like, if I'm looking for a game and I want to buy it, I go to Steam first, and if it's there, I totally buy it there. Because I'd rather have a digital license, and I'd rather be able to download it to a bunch of computers. And they have this thing called, the cloud save system, where I don't have to worry about save games. But there's a big minus to Steam too, right? In that Valve admits it. Like, they're the bottleneck. Like, there's a lot of stuff that could be on Steam that isn't, because they just don't have the time to look at every game in the world and pick the perfect set, and then work with all those developers to integrate Steamworks and stuff. So, on the other side, there's something like Curse, which is the World of Warcraft sort of mod portal, or WoW interface, which is another one, where I don't know if they have any official relationship with Blizzard. If they do, it's not apparent on their website, and they do a fine job of servicing, like, here are the new mods, here we put them in the categories, there's our ranking system, blah, 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 and those mods work great in the game, even though Blizzard, like, doesn't actually interface with them in any sort of a way. Like, sort of the community grew those sites. So I think you can go either way and get a good, a healthy mod community. It's just a matter of what makes the most sense. You can do both, right? We could have the Radiant Marketplace for mods, or, Radiant Mod of the Week, right? And at the same time, someone else can make a mod portal. The goal is to make it easy enough to install your mods that you won't need any third-party software or first-party software to help you do it, right? Download a zip file, put it in this directory, start the game, and the mod is there, right? And then whatever we get beyond that is just gravy. We want to make it as easy as possible to both create content as well as share it and consume it. We have no official game. Oh, okay. And mods, social, supportable. I think I just answered that. Stream frequency, post Kickstarter. Not this frequent, but frequent enough. Like, this is sort of easy because a lot of you guys didn't know about Stonehearth until the Kickstarter, and so even though we have a dev blog, like, this is your first look in the game. So we can show you modding, we can show you sculpting with Cubicle, we can show you animation. We have all this backlog of stuff we've been developing over the past 18 months that we can show you, right? I don't want to do a live stream where we're like, yeah, look, we added one more head type. See ya. Right, so like a live stream every week might not make sense, but when we have cool stuff we want to show you, like we definitely want to. One way to get the information out there is with the dev blog, another one is with the Discourse, and another one is with the live stream, right? So if we have like a new class, like when we first do the carpenter, it'd be great if we could show the carpenter on the live stream and be like, this is what the carpenter looks like, guys. But how often are we going to add a new class? Certainly not every week, right? So, but the live streams are something we want to continue, like up into beta and then after beta, and then if it makes sense, like after the release, right? As long as people are interested in hearing about it. Tom, what's our current PayPal total? Do you know? What's the PayPal total? It's like over 10 grand, less than 11 grand, something like that. All right, so add that to the current thing on the Kickstarter, and that's where we're at. I think we're close to the plains, right? Or no, the plains are far away. What's the next thing? What's the 380 goal? Is that what we're hitting? Don't know. Oh, engineer. Oh, the engineer. Yeah, I'm excited about the engineer. Because once we have the engineer, we can have, like, power. And power is fun, like switches and levers. And I mean, maybe not right on the first day, but it's sort of the lore entry into stuff like that. Like, if anyone is going to make things that need power, it's going to be the engineer. Can you show us your chat, please, so I can be famous? No, sorry, dupe blow. I'll have to find another way to fame. Okay, well, I think the questions have dried up, or I have been lax in scrolling up, so this would be a good time to sign off. Actually, yeah, we've been almost going for like 90 minutes, and I need to eat. So this is a good time as any. So 13 days left in the Kickstarter, and still a ways to go before Elemental Plains. So if you've helped get the word out, thank you very much. If you want to help get the word out some more, we'd really appreciate it. And we hope to do some more stuff in the future to help get the word out as well as keep you guys updated. And we'll work on that $75 pledge. If you have ideas, post them on the Discourse, and we're going to go through them really soon and try to get up there. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions about modding, hit me on the Discourse. And again, all of this is sort of the way it works now. It might not work this way in a week, but it's starting to get very close to stable. All this will be in the beta. And that's when, so you'll actually be able to start making 60-foot mammoths and mini Cthulhu's with the beta bits, if that's what you want. Okay, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you later.